Hi, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a video basically on how to heal after either a relationship or a situation with a narcissist or someone that's damaging in your life. But just someone that, you know what I mean, can suck the life out of you, suck the soul out of you, sees all your negative sides. If you've had like a toxic friend or just a friend that's like changed or just wasn't who you thought they were, or someone that you've gotten rid of and just recovering from the aftermath of what might have gone on in that relationship. Because the fact is, people always change. Like, I like to think that I always get better in my life and in myself, and I'm evolving and changing and improving every day. Not improving, but like learning more about myself and just becoming wiser every day. So some people don't fit the bill of my life anymore, and they don't fit the criteria of what I require in a friendship. And that's for me to move on from. But when people have caused you damage, it really can mess with like your beliefs. Not mess with your beliefs, but you can have negative beliefs because the nature of people like narcissists that project their own insecurities on you. And sociopaths could have just like done stuff to sort of upset you or whatever, and that can cause negative beliefs and whatever. So I've come across a couple of good websites that have sort of thought about some tips about sort of recovering and like moving on from this sort of a relationship. So the first one is setting clear boundaries and state them clearly. I definitely think that's something that I've come to get much better at in the last few months, and particularly weeks actually, just recently. I've been over the last few years quite good at setting boundaries with certain people that I don't want to, that I know shouldn't be in my life. But I think especially recently, just I've been very, very vocal about the things I expect and I need in my life, rather than just sort of like going with the flow and seeing what someone's going to give out to you, and you know, if someone's going to be kind to you and if someone's not. Because I think I was almost living on this sense of like, if you don't engage, you won't get attacked kind of mentality. Thinking in hindsight, I feel like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's kind of the way the world and the universe works in a weird way, that if you haven't got the like mental like capacity or the calibration to deal with certain situations, you just won't, and you'll kind of exclude yourself and isolate yourself from that situation. Or not even isolate yourself, just it's kind of like the animal mentality of like killing a dead spider. Like, you wouldn't want to kill a dead spider, so if someone's not able to deal with a situation, usually you wouldn't kick a dead horse, if you know what I mean, unless you're like really twisted. So I feel like recently I've managed to heal myself through that. I'm able to deal with more challenging people that I wouldn't have even tried to deal with in the past, because like it wasn't really something that I was working on at the time. But I think as you get older, you do need to deal with different people in life. I think this comes for different people at different times, and in no way am I sort of trying to bash anyone that's dealing with a lot of stuff, because I've seen a lot of videos recently about things like empaths that are dealing with, you know, the repercussions of narcissistic relationships, and it's happening on a large scale apparently at the moment. I've heard lots of videos about that. A lot of people are dealing with narcissistic relationships and coming to the realisation of the damage that they've done. So I definitely think those cycles also come around. I feel like sometimes toxic people just come into your life and it's just to get them out in whatever way that means. So yeah, setting boundaries and making them clear. This can be so many things: cutting someone off, telling them you don't want to be friends with them anymore. I would even go to the extent of saying, if someone's harassing you, to say I will get a no contact order from the police, if it's that extreme. To say like, I will get a no contact order for you if you keep contacting me, because sometimes you just can't change your email, you can't change certain contacts. You might be able to change your phone number, but for whatever reason you don't want to do that, you can get a no contact order. I definitely don't like the idea of like using police time when not needed, so I think that's like quite a late resort, but it's there for a reason, you know. And yeah, on to more of a healing side of things, or actually just damage control really, I think. And also healing is that prepare for complex emotions like grief, loss, shock, anger, sadness and depression, and realise that it's a natural response to a trauma and someone that's causing issues, and that it might linger, the feelings might linger, and also that it will take time to kind of work through. And it can cause like illness on a large scale, such as PTSD and stuff. I've heard that it has to be quite extreme sometimes, but I'm not trying to invalidate anyone's issues. There can definitely be situations where you've had really complex trauma in upbringing and then you experience it again as an adult, and it can cause PTSD and stuff like that. So being aware of like depression and things like that, and general mental health obviously is going to be a good place to be in this as well, but just being educated as well. I feel like on the emotions within yourself, because I definitely think through issues I've had with other people I've become so much more emotionally intelligent, because I've had to like recognise the feelings I've had and process them from the past and stuff. I'm going to put this in there, I feel like everything happens for a reason, so I feel like I wouldn't have ever got that emotionally intelligent if I wouldn't have had to deal with these people. I'm not thanking them, but I'm thanking God for allowing me to process my emotions and learn ways to do that. But I feel like if you what was I saying? Yeah, so just processing like complex emotions and stuff, and kind of learning about personality disorders in order to try and recognize the warning signs or the tellers that people are abusive, and that they need to be avoided, or defended against in whatever way, or attacked if that may be the case, if they're getting up in your space. I definitely think the thing about certain people, especially I've noticed covert narcissists I learned about recently, is that they'll get offended if you stand up for your rights. Like, not even stand up for your rights, if you claim your rights, that's like an offence to them, because it means that you're like a strong, confident person. So it's stuff like that where you need to push back and be like, no, like that's not how it goes, do you know what I mean? And just sort of like set that boundary. And just like realise that that's nothing to do with you anyway, that's their personality disorder. So anyway, reclaiming your identity. Yeah, have they written something separate about? Yeah, reclaiming your identity, and also evaluating your beliefs about yourself and what you believe about yourself and how they've affected that, how you've affected that. What is the cause? Not necessarily what's the cause, but just like core belief activities. I've done a video on core belief activities, and I've definitely noticed that it's actually so much good, to be honest, just to evaluate your core beliefs and sort of just logically challenge them if they make sense. Like, if you have a core belief like I'm ugly, for example, it's like, no, like if you felt ugly in the past, like there will be a reason that someone's made you feel insecure, probably that they were jealous from a personality disorder, like they've got such inadequate sense of self that they projected that on you, or they noticed that you had a beautiful sense of self if you were empathic or whatever, and then they just kind of projected their level of ugliness, perceived ugliness. Because the thing about narcissists and people that have personality disorders is that they know on a deep intrinsic level, subconsciously or on some level, that they are narcissistic and they are inadequate, which is why they have to like make up for it on their ego, in their ego. Not all people are like delusional into like they all know on some level. And when you sort of are being attacked by someone like this, it's quite easy to tell from what place it comes from, if that makes sense. So yeah, reclaiming your identity, just kind of like taking back your power in whatever that means. Might just mean like not giving any more narcissistic supply, not contacting them anymore, not allowing them to contact you, and like part of this is just like reclaiming your like life, like doing the stuff you want to do, meeting new people, meeting new groups. And I definitely think there's a level of energetically, universally, that you attract what you like are thinking about. You attract more of what you're thinking about. And this is a thing which I think is a bit of a narcissistic thing that's bad, is that even like when you leave a door open for narcissists, you almost have this like subconscious rumination sometimes, which can kind of just attract bad vibes that you just don't require for yourself. And I hope this is the right website that I've literally seen that has, sorry, I just need to double check. This is, oh, it's not, but I think I saw on a different website, which I can't bother to source now, but I think part of what can lead you towards these type of people, and obviously I always, when I look at people's videos, I think I can kind of almost see what they're gonna learn, not what they're gonna learn, but like they talk about these toxic people and I think you're gonna come out the other side so much better, and that's always the mindset that I like to kind of put. I don't think it's good to be toxically positive, but to have that mindset in the back of your mind is kind of really healthy and sort of just like it stops you from being as defeated, if you know what I mean, or defeated hopefully. So but yeah, when you do kind of like come out the other end and notice these things in people and kind of grow and claim your life back and stuff, there's usually a reason that you can be sucked into these type of toxic people. Not to say, as I say, I'm going to just say that, like I say in most videos, I wouldn't say all narcissists are toxic. I would say choose your own friends wisely and make sure they're treating you the way that you deserve to be treated, and if they're not, question it why. And you know, the thing about narcissists is there's very little spectrum for change, and people change all the time regardless of your personality and whatever else, but just keep an eye on the people that you have in your life because it means a lot. So yeah, reclaiming your identity. Yeah, there's a reason sometimes that you can get involved with these people. Like I definitely think that I accumulated one of my friends that I've had to sort of like let go during a time that I was very codependent, and I'm not codependent anymore. And they say, I was watching a video on the human magnet syndrome between narcissists and empaths, and when an empath has got really low self-esteem and a narcissist has abnormally high self-esteem, like too high, like than what they're actually, you know, worth or whatever, they're quite good at like, they match each other quite well because the empath is getting sort of attention and validation and all that, and like encouragement for increasing their self-esteem because they kind of copy, and then a narcissist is sort of like you know, admired and sort of, you know, they might sort of get a sense of like yeah, admiration and sort of just like being you know, oh, I can't remember what narcissists like. They get a source of supply and just sort of a steady, stable source of supply if they're able to sort of build that trust, and then when an empath sort of heals, but the narcissist obviously stays with their own traits, like that's when the magnets sort of are pushing against each other and they don't really fit anymore. They don't really attract. They repel each other, and that's kind of the sense that I have had recently in some of my relationships. And I think it's okay for those people to fall away. Like sometimes people are in your life for seasons, multiple seasons, and they do a lot to your life. They change your life in lots of ways, but sometimes it's just, there has to be a splitting in paths because that's the path that you're supposed to be on, and that's okay because they say let go to let in. I'm gonna try not to like ramble for too long. I feel like this could be one of these videos where like I just go on and on and on. But yeah, also reclaiming your identity, controlling your time, and participating in activities by yourself and doing things for yourself, and sort of being allowed to innovate, and sort of I did a blog post yesterday, which I'm trying to sort of potentially look at my blog as an extra creative activity. But I just spoke about how when you sit in certain emotions, I've done videos about this, you claim, you get innovation. I'm not going to go into all that now actually, but you just allowing yourself to be in a place where you can be innovative and go towards your dreams and go towards your goals and realise what you're actually striving for, rather than being in a place of woundedness, which is often a place where people attract negative, toxic people. Being in a place of empowerment and choosing actively the people that you want to have in your life, and actively distancing yourself from people that are unhealthy and that are bringing toxicity to your life. Because one of the things as well is to release toxicity that they've built up within yourself, because being around people like that, it brings a level of toxicity because they're toxic. I would be careful about the word toxic, because I think people can be toxic at times in their lives, but also some people can just be ongoingly toxic with no sort of relent in that. So I think I've been toxic in the past because I've been around toxic people, but I think you can be toxic as a person, and you just don't change as a person, some people. So just definitely don't rely on people to change, because they don't. What's the streets say? They say people never change, they're just exposed. It's so true. So yeah, but what was I saying before I said that? Yeah, just being very active and in sorting out the people, because when people overstep your boundaries, it's just so important. I do so many videos on boundaries. I think I've already gone on to boundaries, but just kind of standing up for yourself and realizing what you want to go towards. Like, is that a new job? Is that certain people? You might realize that you've got all these gifts that kind of come forward that you weren't even aware that you had, and then you can join groups that encourage those gifts. For example, I went to a craft group. I was always really arty when I was younger, but I went to a craft group once I sort of re-engaged with that arty side, which now I have my shop, and that's been really helpful and healthy for me. So just, you never know what's around the corner, and I definitely am a huge believer now more than ever, and I trust in God in that. Even if you're not religious or you don't believe in God, that life, it is let go to let in, but also that life never, like, God doesn't ever let us like fall onto a pit of nothingness for ages. There's always a reason why things end, and when you look back, there'll be a reason. Like, I look back now, I've been friends with a friend for a certain while, and I look back now and I see now all the stuff that, because they do say that about friendship, that when you are in a friendship you close your eyes to certain stuff, but now I've changed and evolved, and I'm a stronger, more resilient person, and I have more self-respect and boundaries. I look back and I see that, like, they were always like this. I just decided to close my eyes because of my issues. Not because of my issues, but because I was in a different place, I think. I don't think you can judge different stages of your life. But yeah, there's so many options, and I probably want to do that in a separate video. I feel like this was supposed to be a bit of a video for that, but I feel like I don't know, there's so many options you can do. Jobs, travelling, moving, if that makes sense to you, just like working on your home life, working on your spirituality, adopting new techniques like meditation, and like eating better, and like, you know, getting closer to God, and reading and educating yourself. I definitely think there's different seasons for different stuff. So as much as I feel like I'm one of those people where I used to sort of like, and probably still do, look back to different periods in my life where I think I was getting over this in that way last time, but I think you always move into something different in a different season, and that's kind of hard to get your sort of energy around, because sometimes that's actually quite a stressful thing to think about, and I'm one of those people where I'm just like, I get overwhelmed by the thought of things sometimes. But we do get put in different seasons for different things, and that's also part of the excitement of life, of what's around the corner. And like, I think about the last sort of situationship I was in, even though it was really stressful, I learned a lot from it, and I wouldn't really change it now, because I learned what I needed to learn from that situation, and I don't think there's anything wrong with learning what you need to learn from a person and then letting them go at the end of the time that you've learned what you need to learn from, because people go in and out of your life, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with that. Practicing self-compassion, I think this is so important, and I would say this is different to bodily care, which I might talk about in a sec, hopefully. Oh yeah, I'm just going to talk about bodily care quickly. So obviously, like, bodily care, like baths, great, always great, putting makeup on, whatever works for you, early nights, music, you know, walks, like physical care, the gym, swimming, buying yourself a new outfit, some retail therapy, I think that's fine too. But bodily care, yeah, it's a great option. I definitely think that's important to incorporate. And even like just looking after your house, I think that's a sense of like bodily care. And self-compassion is different though, because I heard this about addictive behaviour, in terms of, I definitely think when I was younger, I was a bit of a, like, I used to rely on food as like a crutch to sort of like get me through life sometimes, which sounds a bit like, I don't think it was abnormal of the time, to be honest. I feel like a lot of people used to do it, but just not in a really active way. I think it was often just a coping strategy in the moment, and possibly, and also sort of egged on by low self-esteem and sexual trauma. But at the same time, I think when I used to adopt, when I had those behaviours, and I still kind of had them subconsciously programmed until a recent time. Practicing self-compassion when sort of moving away from those behaviours is really helpful, because whenever you feel compelled to engage in that sort of stuff, you can just have self-compassion, just remind yourself to have self-compassion and say, well done, like, you've moved from that situation, I'm so proud of myself, and like, I'm so compassionate towards the person that you were and that you needed to move towards that strategy in order to cope at that time. I have so much compassion for that person and yourself, like, and connecting to that part of yourself is so helpful. One other thing that I've noticed as well around people that have narcissistic abuse is that, and also traumatic childhoods, is that people have like this level of like false thoughts and false identity in the back of their mind based on what's stored in their amygdala, which is their fear center in their brain. If it's unprocessed, you could have really negative self-beliefs and negative thoughts towards things that have gone on for you. And the fact is, you know, it's not part of your actual personality because it's disconnected from your frontal lobe. So the way I mean from this is, if your thoughts are connected to your frontal lobe and your behaviour is connected to your frontal lobe, and that's kind of how you operate. But if you have like if you have negative thoughts and a sense of identity that's stored in the back of your mind and more towards your amygdala centres, based on fear and sort of past experiences, that's how you know that it's not a you know, actual reaction of yours, but it's a reaction, or it's a reaction of yours, but it's based on something that's not about you. It's not your fault, it's about someone inflicting that upon you, and that's not part of you, that's part of an experience you had that caused an issue within yourself that you are now processing. So that's basically all I'm going to talk about, because I've already gone on for 21 minutes. I think this has been quite a long video, to be fair. But thanks for listening. Keep strong. So many people go through so many things. We all have our demons and our struggles. Usually I just mainly talk about ones that I can relate to on this channel, but I always like to learn about new things. But it's just, you know, even the people obviously with the personality disorders have got a really hard time. It's just hard as well to deal with them as well. But we've all got our narcissistic traits. You just got to keep positive people in your life. You've got to keep the people in your life that care about you, that have your best interests at heart. And sometimes people can be under the radar and have bad intentions because they just sort of have like passive aggression or whatever. I think you get to this point in its level of spiritual awakening, to be honest, where you start to see the world for what it really is. But if people are being deceptive, I would be aware of that. And I think that's just sounds a bit conspiracy theorist to anyone that doesn't know what I mean. But I would just be aware of the people that kind of have a fake smile and just question that a bit and be like, are you being genuine? Because usually on a cellular level you can sense if someone's genuine or if someone's being falsely nice. And what I say to the people that are falsely nice is, fuck the fuck off. I don't care about you. I don't want to know what you have to say. Just leave me alone. So anyway, there we go. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.